And Ocean joins us now live from New York. Good morning, Ocean. Lovely to talk to you this morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
The documentary is absolutely wonderful. It's truly, truly fascinating. Where did your love for sharks come from? Where was your inspiration from?
Yeah, thank you so much. It really probably came from my parents. My parents, my grandparents, my great grandparents, I come from a long line of water people. And so they clearly love the ocean, hence my name.
Mhm.
And so I was lucky to grow up and actually get to see what sharks are really like, to see them in their natural environment before ever seeing them on a Hollywood fictitious film screen, like films like Jaws. So I think that that helped a lot for being able to distinguish between what is the reality and what is, the sensationalistic view that they're often portrayed as.
What do you remember, Ocean, what your first encounter with the shark was like and how old you were?
I think I was around 7 or 8. I remember being not that far from shore and having a beautiful shark swim from underneath me along the sand. I was probably only in about 3 meters of water, and it felt like time just stopped. And as it passed underneath me, I had that moment where I thought, should I follow after it to learn more, or should I go in because I don't know that much? And I'm forever grateful to my younger self for taking that pause, that moment, and that intrigue. And I slowly followed after it, observing its behavior. And I like to kind of joke, I've now followed them around the world because I've been able to dive with more than 30 species around the world and work with them. And it's incredible to get to know them on a deeper level, to be able to spend so much time in the water with them, because there's so much more to them than what the general public sees.
Yeah. Were you scared, though? Because even at 7 or 8, a big creature, whether it's a shark or not, swimming underneath you can be very intimidating.
I think I had a natural hesitation, and I think that people, it's good that they have a natural hesitation about things that they don't understand, which is why I gave it some distance and followed from a distance. But I really think that maybe due to other experiences with marine life and given my water background and my proximity to shore, I think that there's a lot of personal factors that went into that. And that's something that I do with my work, is trying to help people to overcome that disproportionate level of fear they have that keeps them out of the ocean and not caring about sharks, and replacing it with a high, healthy level of respect. And that comes through understanding of their important ecological role, their capabilities, and how to actually swim with them as safely as possible. Because some people would just say, oh, just stay out of the water, stay out of the ocean. But it's that disconnect that I feel that often leads to apathy, and, and that feeling or lack of feeling of connection is unfortunately very prevalent. And I think it's exacerbated because of films like Jaws.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, actually, what do you think of that movie, and how do you think it
50 years old this year.
Yeah, it affects people's perceptions of these amazing animals?
Yeah, I just think that it's unfortunate that sometimes that's people's first experience with it. And it's so far away from reality. It's a Hollywood kind of got wrong, was not just the portrayal, but it really sort of planted a seed in people's imagination where they didn't have a lot of information. But what we have now is social media, and we have drones. And so now people can start to see the reality that, yes, sharks are there. And that common misperception that people have there, they think if a shark in the vicinity that it's gonna come up and eat them. The reality is they swim past surfers, swimmers, and divers all day, every day. And it is so rare that they make a mistaken identity bite or a territorial bite or a bite out of the brink of starvation. I'm living proof for that as well. I swim with them every single day. But yeah, I'm so grateful for drone footage now, essentially showcasing that to people.
Ocean, you have faced and do face quite a lot of criticism as well from people who suggest that the way you interact with the sharks isn't what we should be doing. If you go into the sea, you can look but don't touch. We could see some of the footage from the documentary, but also some of your Instagram footage. There's you touching a shark that you know clearly very well, and you're playing with its nose, and you're rubbing the underside of its body as well. What do you say to those critics?
Well, there's a couple things. For one, I am a professional. I grew up doing this. So I'm not trying to encourage people to replicate what I'm doing. I have a 6.5 minute breath hold. And obviously, I spend my entire life focused on this. But I do that so that I can teach people what to do in an emergency situation. I want to help people coexist, because if they're just afraid of sharks and they don't know what to do, either they're going to encourage a bad interaction if they're approached and they panic and they splash and thrash like an injured animal and swim away. And also on the regards of touching, sometimes it's like it's necessary in those situations when you get that less than 1% of the chance where you have an inquisitive or curious individual who comes up. And even then, most of the time, they're still going to turn away. But for people who are critical about me touching sharks, I just wish that they would redirect that attention towards the touching of sharks that actually harms sharks. So shark finning kills over 100 million sharks every single year, as well as bycatch in the industrial seafood fishing vessels. And then we've got culling going on in Australia and South Africa. Shark fishing is still prevalent over in the United States. And some deep sea sharks are even getting fished out just for their liver oil for cosmetics, pharmaceuticals. And many sharks are killed just for their jaws and teeth for the souvenir trade. So if you really, truly actually care about sharks or care about wildlife being touched, please help save some of those sharks. Don't criticize me for putting my soft little human hand just pushing the shark away gently, which doesn't harm the shark.
Ocean, can we talk about your technique a little bit? Because you talk about it in the documentary and you almost compare the sharks to horses and how they feel kind of electrical impulses. And in the documentary, you go from making yourself small to kind of making yourself big and then kind of redirecting the sharks by pushing on their nose and pushing them away. How did you create this technique? And were you not terrified the first time you did it?
So growing up with horses certainly helped me, because you have to be able to leverage off of them to maintain space so that your feet don't get stepped on, so you don't get kicked, so you don't get knocked by their head. And so it's natural with working with horses to maintain physical contact that also allows them to sense sort of your tension. And so I know that maybe only horse people totally understand that, but for those people who have dogs or cats, I think that maybe they can understand that when you walk into a room with your pet, that they can pick up on tension, stress, intention, and that if an animal were to run at you, and this is including human animals, that you might need to maintain space. So putting a hand on top of their head or snout, locking out the elbow to be able to leverage or maintain space is just a safety technique. And so I share that online, not as a showy type thing, but as an emergency procedure, because I'd rather people know what to do if a large, curious shark swam up to them, rather than what I think the human instinct would be to panic, splash and thrash like an injured animal, which is just sort of going to provoke that predatory response. So it's kind of like teaching kids in school. If they were to catch their shirt on fire, you don't just run around, you stop, drop, and roll. And so if you're approached by a large shark, you don't splash and thrash and panic and turn your back and swim away, encouraging it to chase you. You look at it, you face it, you extend your fins towards it if you have fins on, or any inanimate object, surfboard, camera, whatever it is. And if anything, move at it. And yeah, if it comes up that close enough to touch, at the last minute, putting your hand on top of the head, closing out the mouth, locking the elbow, and moving off to the side. Now, I understand that these safety techniques, I've obviously trained a lot of people to do this. I've got a team of marine biologists that work with me in Hawaii at One Ocean Diving. We guide people in the water all day, every day. We wouldn't be able to do so responsibly if I didn't teach those people how to do this for that 1% of the time that they get that curious. But I'd still rather people have this information for safety purposes, because my ultimate goal, trying to get people to coexist with sharks, it means that I need to help them to actually coexist. Otherwise, they don't care if sharks exist, if they just think that they're monsters and they don't know what to do, or they don't know much about them and they don't understand them, we generally don't protect that which we do not understand. So I'm just trying to help people understand sharks on a deeper level.
You do a great job
the
of it.
documentary goes a long way to certainly illustrating that they aren't monsters. Hopefully I'll never be in the situation where I have to employ the technique, Ocean, but I know what I need to do if I do get a shark coming towards me. Thank you for joining us. It's very early in the morning over there, but it's been lovely to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ocean. And The Shark Whisperer is on Netflix
Oh, hello.
now.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.